Start. Hello friends. First of all, we'll study about the active components. In active components, there are two active components mainly you are supposed to study. That is semiconductor diodes. Semiconductor diodes means one N junction. There is a PN junction. Between the P-type material and N-type material, there is a junction. You have studied that there is a depletion region is going to be created, and if it is a forward bias, then the current will flow. But if it is the reverse bias, the current will not flow. If it is a forward bias, the current will be flowing in the order of milliamperes. That means resistance between the anode and cathode, that resistance is going to be low resistance will be there. But when it is in a reverse bias, that means between the collector and emitter, here it is a anode and cathode. If there is a battery is connected in a reverse bias way, that means P is connected with the negative terminal of the battery and N is connected with the positive terminal of the battery, then it is a reverse bias connections. In that case, it will show a very high resistance between anode and cathode, because current does not flow, or the current is flowing in the order of 10 current is flowing in the order of microamperes or nanoamperes, and hence the current resistance in the reverse bias will be in mega ohms. So we are supposed to measure the resistance between forward bias as well as reverse bias between anode and cathode, and hence we can find out whether the diode is working okay or not. So that way we can test the diode. Second thing, come nearer. If you want to see the diodes, then how to identify which is anode and which is going to be cathode? So on a diodes, you can see that these are different type of the diodes. This diode 1N4007, 1N5402, 1N5408, these are rectifier diodes. 1N4148, this is another one, Zener diode. So they are called Zener diodes. You have studied about the Zener diode, you have studied about the rectifier diodes, so you must be knowing how to identify which is cathode and which is going to be anode, which side is going to be cathode. For that, you have to see these silver rings over a diode. There is a silver ring is going to be available over here. So whichever side there is a silver ring, that end of the resistance, diode is considered to be cathode, and other side is considered to be anode, and that way you can identify which is cathode and which is anode. Now there are different type of the diodes. Rectifier diodes are there, then there is a Zener diode is there. OA79 here it is written, it is called point contact diode, which is mainly utilized for detection circuit etc. BY127, this diodes for 1N4007 etc. is having higher current capacity range. That means it can withstand a current up to 1 ampere or more than 1 ampere. Second things, there are other diodes is also available. There are photodiodes, there are IR LED, that means infrared, which is emitting infrared LED, light emitting diodes, and there is a normal LED is there, which is also red color, green color, etc. LED is available, that you know that it is a working as a indicator. There is a variegated diode is also there, which is a variable capacitor. You have studied in 12th standard that because of the size of the depletion region is going to be changed, and hence epsilon A upon D, that way you can say that separation is going to be changed, the capacitance is going to be changed. So variegated diode, the capacitor is changing. So that's why it is called variegated capacitor or variegated diode. So we'll see that how we will test the diodes. And I have already teach you that how to understand about this multimeter. So we are going to utilize the multimeter in resistance range, ohms range, because we are measuring the resistance between forward bias and reverse bias of the diode. So I am putting in the resistance range. The prop should be in like that way. One prop should be common, second prop should be in the resistance range. Then I will be putting this diode and this prop across the diode like this way, and I will measure the resistance. તારી બાજુ રાખો કે હા કેન યુ તને દેખાય છે અથવા આ બાજુ હતો
ના સર આવે
it is approximately 0.814 mega ohms or something. In one side of this resistance is like this. Even if you forget about the anode or cathode, you just measure the resistance by interchanging the polarity of the meter. Other side of the diode, it shows O dot L mega ohms. What it indicates? The resistance is too high, which cannot be measured into this range. So the forward resistance was 0.8 mega ohms was there. Reverse resistance is infinity because current does not flow in a reverse bias, and hence the resistance is going to be infinity. V upon I, that is equal to R. So I is going to be 0, so R is going to be infinity. That way you can say that this diode, forward bias resistance you can note down, the reverse bias resistance, and that way you can give the conclusions that whether the diode is working okay or not. You can verify a different type of the diodes with this same way. This is also in a reverse bias, so it shows the infinity resistance. But when it is in a forward bias, it will show less resistance. You can see that it is 4.23 mega ohms resistance will be there in forward bias. Even if you can see this LEDs, if you put this one across the LED, and if it is a forward bias, and if there is a proper battery inside this meter, LED will be light up also, but here it is not lighting up. The reason is there, the battery in the meter is weak, so it is not showing, otherwise it will show. The same way we have measured the resistance of normal rectifier diode, you can measure for the Zener diode also, you can measure for LED also, and that way you can test the different type of diodes. So this is one of the active components you have to learn. You see that size of this diodes is also different, thickness I am talking particularly, and thickness is directly proportional with the current handling capacity of the diodes. If it is a thinner diodes, then the current handling capacity may be 0.5 amperes or less. But if it is a thick like this one, maybe 2 watt diodes will be there, maybe 5 watt diode is will be there, and that way the current handling capacity will be larger.
Stop it, sir.
Now